Welcome to Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us here at the show, thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that is why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today's episode will hopefully be one that helps families in a meaningful and supportive way. We're going to be discussing how to cope with caregiver burnout. You've probably heard the phrase or even said it yourself, "I'm getting burnt out." This isn't just a phrase though, or a figure of speech. This is something very real that families who are caring for a loved one can experience if they aren't careful, especially if there is only one person in the family who has all of the caregiving responsibilities and duties. Caring for a loved one is a full-time job, but unlike other jobs where you get to go home at the end of the day, and for most people, once you leave your job at the end of the day, your job stays at work and you get to go home. But when you're caring for a parent, a spouse, a child, or a loved one who's very close to you, that responsibility never leaves you. And in some instances, your loved one may be living with you, or vice versa. You may have had to move in with them to help care for them. If you're caring for a loved one, though, you're not alone. There are 65 million Americans, 2/3 of which are female, who are caring for a family member right now who are either disabled or in failing health. If you are one of the 65 million caregivers, you are probably aware that there are many wonderful moments and experiences when you're helping to care for your loved one. But you're also probably just as aware that it has moments that make it one of the most challenging experiences you have ever faced. And it's also a job that nothing you have done prior could have helped to prepare you for the physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion that can accompany it. In fact, according to a recent study, 20% of caregivers report that their own health has suffered as a result of caring for their loved one. If this role of being a caregiver for your loved one is new to you, or maybe you've been caring for them for a while and you are starting to feel the stress of this, we want to provide you with some helpful tips and suggestions, because if something did happen to you, who will be there for them? One of the first things that often gets overlooked and put on the back burner is your health. Now, when we speak with families at our various caregiver support groups, we have found that many of them think that since they're healthy and their loved one needs them, that they can delay or postpone their healthcare appointments, their dental appointments, and yes, even hair appointments. Those are important too. Don't do it. Neglecting routine appointments and sacrificing your health and wellness isn't going to help your loved one any more or any less if you keep those appointments, especially considering that family caregivers also tend to sacrifice their dietary and nutritional standards as well for the sake of ease and convenience. Now, I want to give you an example that most people can relate to. If you have ever been on an airplane and when you're instructed to put on your oxygen mask in the event that there's an emergency, the instructions are to secure your oxygen mask before going to put on your child's oxygen mask. This makes sense if you think about it. If you're struggling to get your child's mask on or trying to help them before you put your mask on, by the time you get them taken care of and secure their mask, it may be too late for you. The point is, don't neglect your health, whether it's a doctor's appointment, a dental appointment, hair appointment, or even getting adequate sleep and exercising and eating right. Finding time to exercise may be one of the more easier things to do. Exercise could be at night or in the afternoon or early in the morning, or it may be you find creative ways to exercise by becoming creative. Exercising doesn't have to be done at a gym. It can be done around the home or even while you're watching television and in a chair. There are many different ways and options to get the exercise you need for your health without having to leave the home or even your chair. By making sure to get exercises into your caregiving routine, it will help to reduce the stress of the day-to-day caregiving responsibilities, and it will help you to improve your mood. Now, are you eating a lot of junk food and going through the drive-through, or getting quick pizzas, or getting deliveries of unhealthy foods? If meals are difficult, try finding quick, simple meals and stay away from the fast food, even though it is the quickest and easiest. Right now, there are many options that can be healthy, quick, and affordable. Having more wholesome and nutritious meals will not only benefit you, but it will also benefit your loved one as well. When a loved one first starts needing care, there's usually one family member that steps into that role of caregiver, but not always. But more often than not, there's usually just one person that has the caregiving responsibility. Sometimes the situation may be that one person will handle the finances and bills, while the other person handles all the caregiving. And sometimes there's one person who is doing everything. Either way, nobody can nor should do it all. Having others help to share in the care is important, especially like when we asked earlier, if something happens to you, who will be there for them? We talk and meet with families all across Michigan, and we have seen families who have wonderful systems in place where one person does the grocery shopping every week and another person will handle the bills and finances while another person handles all the care. And then finally, they even have a person who handles cleaning the home. This is, for the most part, the exception. This doesn't mean that families who do not have a system of sharing are bad or neglectful or that they don't care. Sometimes it's simply because they can't for a number of reasons. They may not be able to logistically. Families are spread out nowadays. They don't all live close by or a couple miles away. Or they're unable to due to their jobs, and they can't afford to miss work or lose their job. And sometimes, too, they may be dealing with their own health issues. If you're trying to find extra help from your family and friends and you're unable to recruit from within them, don't feel bad. You can talk with your church, or if your loved one attended a church, reach out to their church and let them know what's going on. Most likely, they are already aware of the situation, and most churches would love to help out in any way they can. And if they aren't aware of the situation, or maybe they didn't realize how serious it was or how much help is needed, talk with them and see what they can offer to help you and to help your loved one. And if these options don't provide enough help, you can always visit the National Alliance for Caregiving at caregiving.org, and they can help you locate caregiver services in your area. And if your loved one is under medical care or receiving home health care, ask to schedule a time that you could speak with the social worker with the home health care company or the social worker at your loved one's doctor's office, and they can help connect you to local services in your area for any help that you are needing. Next, we always like to ask in our caregiver support groups the following question: when and where was the last place you went to for yourself? If it's been too long for you to remember, it's time you make an appointment with yourself and keep it. This doesn't mean or have to be anything real, extravagant, or anything with a large time or financial commitment. It can be something as simple as going to a local coffee house or going to a park, weather permitting, and just relax and step away from the caregiving mindset and focus on you for a little while. Read about something that you enjoy, or try to make time for one of your personal hobbies that maybe you've been neglecting, or calling one of your friends and asking them to meet up with you. Dr. Mahoney, who is the Jock Moore Professor of Geriatric Nursing Research at MGA Institute of Health Professions, which is an affiliate of Massachusetts General Hospital, says that they have found that you can significantly reduce your stress by taking many caregiver respites, which can be as little as a 30-minute break occasionally. And if family caregivers need any more incentive to take time for themselves, federal legislatures have also acknowledged that unpaid caregivers need occasional vacations. In 2006, the Lifespan Respite Care Act was passed to help provide relief services for the family caregiver. Like we mentioned earlier, 65 million Americans right now are caring for a loved one, and those are typically non-paid positions. The Arch National Respite Network, which can be found by visiting archrespite.org, has information on respite services for family caregivers and resources. As we've been discussing, caring for a family member takes an enormous toll on the family and the ones doing the caring. Even if you are fortunate and have a great system in place where everyone is doing their part, it is still emotionally, physically, mentally, and even financially draining. If you've had to stop working or forego paying bills to be able to care for your loved one, then that adds to the stress and difficulties. This is why it is important to look into caregiver support groups. As we've shared here and in other discussions, we facilitate and host multiple caregiver support groups ourselves. And we can tell you firsthand the profound positive impact that caregiver support groups have for families. These aren't just a place to come when you've had maybe a harder week than normal. They also provide you a place to learn about being a more effective caregiver, a place to learn about resources, either for you as a caregiver or for your loved one's needs. And I personally think one of the greatest benefits that is at a caregiver support group is it's a place where you meet others who are going through many similar situations that you are. And it allows you to build a peer support group and camaraderie with other family caregivers. We told this example early on in one of the very first episodes of All Home Care Matters. I will never forget this lady who had visited our support group. One of the first times she came in, and she was really overstressed, and she was nearing the point of herself being sick. One of the things that she was really struggling with is one of her personal friends that she has known since I think it was middle school. And this lady was now in her early 60s. So they've known each other for many, many years. Had broke off all communication with her and wouldn't respond to text messages, emails, or phone calls. And this lady even had her husband call, and it was to no avail. Finally, her friend did call her, and her friend was upset and basically said they thought it would be best if they weren't friends anymore. These are pretty harsh statements and a pretty harsh position to take with somebody you've been friends with for probably over 50 years. When this lady at our support group asked her why is it we're not able to be friends anymore, her friend, this woman, had told her that you don't have time for me, I don't have time for you. Now, this lady who was at our caregiver support group was dealing with a parent who was at end stages of cancer, and they had to move, I believe it was her father, had to move her father into her and her husband's home, and he required continuous around-the-clock care, helping with his pain management, his personal care, and just being there for comfort, whether it's to hold his hand or brush his hair or give him a cold washcloth or fresh water. And she was doing what I thought was a very commendable thing. And I wasn't taking sides with her friend who broke off the friendship. What I was trying to do was help her to try to see it from her friend's perspective. It was hard for her friend to truly appreciate, understand what she was going through caring for her father with end-stage cancer, because fortunately this particular lady had never had to be a caregiver for a family member. She had both of her parents, both were still very healthy. Her husband was healthy. Her kids and grandchildren were all healthy and independent and doing well. And here her best friend, where they had shared many family milestones and many lifetime memorable moments and things together, was not able to understand this. They hadn't gone through this one together. This time, just one of them had to go through something that the other wasn't able to go through with them. And it helped her by explaining to her, you can be hurt, you can be sad, and hopefully you guys can reconcile, and maybe she'll think about it, and maybe she will come to appreciate what you are going through and not think so much about herself and her selfish reasons for breaking off your friendship simply because you can't go out to lunch or go to a movie or go shopping together right now. And you may not even be able to answer the phone every time she calls to have your hour-long conversation together. But put yourself in her shoes. She can't understand what you're going through because she's never been through it herself. And try not to hold that against her. And after she thought about that, and some of the others in the support group that day lent their opinions and their experiences, and after talking about that, she said, that actually does make sense. I can't understand why she doesn't understand what I'm going through, but I can see that it would be hard for me to expect her to understand because she hasn't been through it. And thankfully, and hopefully, she never will. So these support groups, you will have people there who do understand, who have been through it, who are going through it, and they can lend that support and that experience to you and some of the things they've been through to hopefully help you in your caregiving journey to make yours a little bit easier. I think caregiver support groups are a wonderful resource. Almost all communities have them. Some of them have multiple support groups. Some of them have them for specific illnesses or diseases, and some of them have them for just caregivers. So that's something, if you're able to, I would look into them if you haven't already, and at least go once just to see what they're like and see if it's something you think would be beneficial to you. Now, being a family caregiver can elicit and bring out emotions that maybe weren't there before. One of them that is common amongst all family caregivers is guilt. This doesn't necessarily mean your loved one's making you feel guilty or trying to make you feel guilty, but we are all human, and it's our human emotions that can take over when they may want you to do something or whatever it may be, and it can be hard to say no. And if you do say no, then you may feel guilty. But likewise, and unfortunately, sometimes the loved one that you're caring for may try to make you feel guilty or inadequate even. And this stings and hurts. The caregiver support group is also a good place to vent and talk about your feelings, your frustrations, and emotions, and to remind you that you're doing the best job you can do, and nobody can expect you to do any more. Something that we hand out anytime somebody comes to the support group, and we ask them to keep it close by and pull it out anytime they need a reminder during a hard day or when they're feeling down, depressed, sad, hurt. It's called the caregiver mantra. In the caregiver mantra, it says, I didn't cause it, I can't fix it, and I am doing the best that I can. And we tell them, like I said, when you're having a bad day, take your card out, read it out loud, read it silently, and remember, you are doing the best that you can, and nobody can expect you to do any more. But if you feel like the stress is becoming too much and you're not getting any relief, contact your doctor and talk with them about what you're experiencing and schedule an appointment with them. When we started this episode, we started by talking about taking care of your health, and that's because it should always be the first priority. Caring for a loved one is rewarding, but it's also not easy. And we hope that this episode has helped you. And if you know of anyone going through this right now and they can benefit from this information, please share this with them. And remember, you can visit archrespite.org for respite information and resources, and visit caregiver.org where you can get resources, tools, and tips to make your caregiving job just a little bit easier. Part of the information that we gathered and used for this episode of All Home Care Matters was from health.harvard.edu. And we appreciate and thank you for joining us here at All Home Care Matters. All Home Care Matters is here for you and to help families as they navigate long-term care issues. We hope and invite you to please visit us at allhomecarematters.com. There is a private, secure, fillable form there where you can give us feedback, or maybe you have show ideas or you have questions. Every form is read and responded to. And again, if you know somebody who can benefit from this episode, please share it with them. We hope that you will join us next time on All Home Care Matters, where we're going to discuss tips for family caregivers. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.